Gonna do 2 sips. Everybody knows the rules, right? Like Dave Portnoy, he says everybody knows the rules. One bite, but he takes like 10. 2. The lights are on, the bar is set, and I got 2 bottles to pop open and pour. What's up, everyone? I'm Don Ferguson, the proprietor of the Teeqlife Media Group, and your host for today. On this episode of One More Pour, we are diving straight into the deep end of Musica Tequila. Haven't heard of this brand before? Well, watch out. Pay attention, because I think you're going to be hearing quite a bit about this brand in the future. This is from the world's first music-driven tequila house. I know what you're saying at home. What is a music-driven tequila house? Well, we're going to talk about that. I got a lot to explain here, people. And although this is a newer tequila on the market, the founders spent decades building brands, working in the music industry before launching Musica. They spent 5 years in development for this. So this wasn't a rush to the market. This was something that they really wanted to take their time with. And legend, folklore has it that they did over 3,000 tastings before they wound up with these 2 expressions right here. 3,000 tastings, that sounds like a weekend for me. Okay, before we pop these bad boys open and get to tasting 2 things. Okay, maybe a few more than that, but this is 100% Blue Weber Agave, additive free. Now I know what you're saying at home. It seems like every tequila that is launching on the market right now is additive free. Maybe they are. Maybe they're being true to form. I don't know. You be the judge of that. Now, when we talked about that music house, this is where it gets kind of crazy, unique, interesting, and fun. They use a proprietary audio infusion process that is inspired by the Mozart effect. And this is a brand that gives back. They support the Save the Music Foundation that supports working musicians. So if you're a working musician, you might want to support this tequila brand because it supports you. The hats to the back, we're diving straight in. We're going to start with the Blanco. Now, both of these are 80 proof, twice distilled, and these are from lowland agave. So sometimes lowland agave tequilas can be a little spicier, mineral rich, earthy. We're going to find out. You ready? Bottle. So, super dope bottle. A lot of thought went into this. We're going to talk about the bottle design and some of the things on it a little bit later. I got my competition grade certified Teeqlife approved tasting glass. And we're going to start with the Blanco. You always want to start with a Blanco when it comes to the tequila because this is the purest form of tequila. So everything from here you should get from this expression. You should. Color. Blanco. We don't need to talk about it. Let's put this right here. Oh, it's beautifully positioned. And let's go into the aroma. Yep, you're getting that signature fresh, sweet, roasted, cooked agave. Now there's some tropical stuff going on in here. I'm getting like hints of ripe banana peel, some tones of pineapple. There is a vegetalness, so like that raw, earthy, crisp, that you go out to your garden, you pick a fresh cucumber or a jalapeno pepper, a banana pepper, whatever it may be. I'm getting that touch of anise on the back end. So for you playing at home, that's that black licorice. Yeah, some people I don't like black licorice, but it's not overly present here. It's just a tiny little hint. It's a dash. There is a minerality here. It's very zesty. It's very clean. So it's very fragrant. When it comes to the aroma, it's not oozing out. So I'm not getting it where it's just filling up the air. It's very light. It's very soft. It's pleasant. A touch of that black pepper, deep down in the well. That should be a song. But it's there. It's very nice. It's very nice, but it's not going to give you those vapors, like Bismarcky, and it's burning your eyes. Now, because I have 2 expressions, we're just going to do 2 sips. Everybody knows the rules, right? Like Dave Portnoy, he says everybody knows the rules. One bite, but he takes like 10. 2. Okay. It's very bright. Oh, there is that minerality. I wonder what We're going to talk about the geeky stuff a little bit later, but I'm wondering if they're using like a deep well water because I'm kind of picking up something like that. Okay, second taste, we're going to go in and talk all about this in the finish. I'm letting it swirl around, letting it coat, rest. The first sip is always going to coat that palate. And then you get all the nuances that are deep down in this. This tasting glass is phenomenal too. Enough talking. What am I picking up here? So it is clean. It does taste, like that fresh agave. There is a hint of minerality in there. It's probably coming from that soil, and a lowland agave, based tequila. It's going to be a little bit different than a highland. There are some tropical, notes that I'm picking up in the taste. So like a stone fruit, like a mango, but not an overly ripe mango. Kind of right in the middle to where it's not overly sweet and juicy, just kind of subtle. There is a subtle pepper on the back end of it. A little bit of a light Ceylon cinnamon. I would, screw it. Let's just do 3. Okay. So, yeah, there's a interesting nuance, that is deep down in there, and I think it's just very vegetal. It's probably the water that they're using. It's the lowland agave that is very different. There's not a lot of pepper. There is going to be a little bit of subtle pepper on the back end of it, but nothing that's going to, just nuke your throat. The finish is subtle. It's got a little sweetness. It does linger. This is very complex, and I think it's a pretty decent sipping tequila, but you're not getting, or at least I'm not getting, a lot of those bright, sweet agave tones that a lot of these Blancos are having right now. Yeah, there's just something on the back end of it, and I think it's that minerality that is really just lingering quite a bit on the back of my tongue, a little bit into my esophagus, so very interesting, very different. Okay, rating time for the Blanco. What are we going to do? The rating from 1 to 5. 1 meaning not really, and 5 meaning absolutely. Drum roll, please. Play along at home. I'm going to give Musica Blanco 3.9. 3.9 is a really nice rating. For me, I like a little bit more sweetness in my Blancos, and this one, it was almost there. It was on the roller coaster, and then somehow they lost electricity, and it just went back down. Okay, time for the Reposado. I neutralized my palate, drank some water just to keep it fresh and clean, got a new competition grade tasting glass, and we're going to go into the Reposado. Now, their Reposado is aged for just 3 months in previously used oak barrels. Put that right there. Now, 3 months really is pretty young when it comes to an aging on a Reposado. Typically, I like around 6, maybe even 8 months, but it's got a really nice color. Look at that color. For just 3 months in previously used American oak barrels, this might have a really nice depth and complexity that I'm looking for. Let's go in for the aroma. Wow, it's very Blanco-like. And that is one of the things when you don't age it really long, for any kind of length of time, there might only be a color differentiation when it comes from the Blanco, between the Blanco and the Reposado. And here, I'm picking up a lot of what I was picking up when I was doing the nosing for the Blanco. Very tiny hint of vanilla. Little hint of some baking spices and some caramel. I'm getting some oak though. I'm really getting that oak. Now, when it comes to these previously used barrels, I don't know if they've been recharred. I don't know if they've been stripped, toasted, anything like that. I don't think we could find out anything. And we do a lot of research here at the Teeqlife Media Group, but sometimes we just come up short. A nice citrus, there's a little citrus tone, like I would say an orange rind, orange peel, something like that. But it's very light when it comes to the aroma. There's not anything that is just really oozing out of here whatsoever. But it's all about the taste, baby. Number 1. Wow. Okay. I'm getting that same profile that I got from the Blanco. However, There is a little bit of oak in there, a little bit of honey agave, that honey sweetness. It is very, I'm going to say it, and I don't like to say this word, smooth. That is real smooth for just 3 months. Now, the Blanco was really smooth as well, but wow, I did not expect it to be that smooth. Number two. Okay, there's a little bit of baking spices in there. I'm getting some of those tropical hints that we had from the Blanco as well. Tiny hint of that orange peel that I was referencing earlier. So a little white pepper on the back end of it. It is very light, as well as, it matches the nose. The nose was extremely light. Well, the taste is extremely light too. Yeah, there's a very light barrel influence, and then there's that finish, that aftertaste that I got with the Blanco that I'm also getting with the Reposado. There is just a light sweetness here. Now this one, it won a double gold at the WSWA. It received a 98.5 points, that's extremely high. Here we grade things a little bit differently. And just nosing it, for me, I'm just going to be very transparent. I enjoy a little bit more complexities when it comes to a barrel influence. I like that to be deeper, resonate a little bit more than what I'm getting right now. All right, we're going to finish this up with round 3. Yeah, the sweetness it's just really kind of muted in a way. I am getting just a touch of that oak, but nothing overly crazy whatsoever. The finish is long. It really tastes very similar to the Blanco, in my opinion. So let's go in for the rating. Drum roll. So I gave this a 3.9. I'm going to do a 4.0 for the Reposado. Now let's get into the geeky stuff. This is from NAM 1598. And when I did the research, or the team did the research with me, I'm not familiar with a lot of brands coming out from that distillery. So this might be a brand new unicorn, and this could be the flagship, the staple brand coming out of NAM 1598. 100% Blue Weber agave, lowland. They harvest the agave anywhere between 6 and 10 years. They use a roller mill extraction, autoclave cooking, and deep well water. Now when it comes to the fermentation, no added yeast. This is kind of risky sometimes. They use an open air fermentation, and it's 2 times distilled. So open air, you're getting all of that yeast from the surrounding agave plants that are growing, and it's just cultivating in the air. So gonna add a little bit to that earthiness, the vegetal, the minerality. That's what's going on here with this brand. And as I talked about, when it comes to the bottle, it's like a musical note. It's inspired to stand out, and it really taps into the essence of what this brand really wants to represent. So on the cork, love, respect, inspire. And I think they're doing some really cool things. I really like the bottle design. The bottle design is super nice, and it's still easy to hold. And most importantly, it was easy to pour. If you want to learn a lot more about Musica Tequila, we're going to drop the website in the comments so you can order online, you can do your research, and yes, they do have an añejo. That's going to be on a future episode. So, aged longer, maybe it's right up my alley. That's what I'm looking for. We'll see. Life's too short to drink bad liquor, people. Choose wisely. We're going to see you on the next episode. So be sure to follow, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends about the platform. And if you need a suggestion, feel free to reach out to us. See ya.